Okay, here's the part 2. I'm going to do 3 more examples in case the first 3 examples weren't good enough for you. Here, we've already factored. We've already split it into a multiplication problem. Now I'm ready to do step 3, which is set each factor equals 0. We've already got everything on one side. I've already factored it. This actually came from a hard math game. And then now I'm ready to set this equal to 0. 4p minus 3 equals 0. P plus 1 could equal 0. When you multiply, there's 2. Either one of these could be 0 to get 0. So I use that fact. This is the one we've been doing. P equals negative 1. This one is just a 2-step equation. You're going to have a fraction for an answer. You add 3. 4p equals positive 3. And then since this one was p, you're done. Since this one's 4p, you're not done. You need to divide by 4. And the answer is 3/4 or 0.75. It doesn't matter which way you write it. 3/4 is the fractions are typically the way you write your answers in upper level math. But I know some of you prefer decimals. Okay, next. This is needs to be factored. Okay, I've already got everything on one side, 0 on the other. Everything's on one side, 0's on the other. On Wednesday, you had to do some moving. But now, when I go to factor this, I always look for a GCF first. This one does have a GCF. They can all be divided by 4. So the best thing to do with this problem is pull a 4 out. Divide that by 4, you get n squared. Divide that by 4, you get 7n. Divide that by 4, you get 6. And now this factors a second time. I look at what's in parentheses. I see a trinomial. I see an n squared, an n, and a number, so it might be what we call the math game. What multiplies to get 6, but will add or subtract to 7. My options are 6 and 1, 3 and 2. I can get a 7 out of this one by making it 2 positives. So the 4 just stays, and this trinomial becomes n and n. And then I'm going to put a plus 6 and a plus 1 to create a 7n when I go to FOIL it. So now instead of 2 things that multiply to get 0, I have 3 things that multiply to get 0. This times this times this equals 0. So I need to set all 3 things equal to 0. I set that one equal to 0. I set that factor equal to 0. I set that factor equal to 0. Now, because there's no variable in this and 4 equals 0 doesn't make sense, you just ignore the 4. Now, this has a variable in it, so I need to solve it, and negative 6 is an answer. This has a variable in it, so I need to solve it, and negative 1 is an answer. Okay? So the only thing different is I've already got everything on one side, 0 on the other. Wednesday, you had to move stuff. But what makes this different is you pull out a 4 and do a trinomial. This is a GCF and a easy math game trinomial problem. And then set them equal to 0 and solve. Just kind of ignore that one. And then this one is a little more difficult one. Everything's on one side, 0's on the other. I look for a GCF. There is nothing you can divide all 3 of those numbers by, so it's not a GCF. It's not a binomial, so it's definitely not a difference of 2 perfect squares. It is a trinomial. And instead of an x squared, it's a 3x squared. So this is the harder trinomial type, where instead of x and x, it's 3x, 1x. And then now I have options here. Basically, you have more options there, and you have more options here to try to create the negative 14 in the middle. These 2 numbers have to multiply to get 8. So it's either 8 and 1 or 2 and 4. And I need to pick the right numbers to create a negative 14 in the middle. Let's see here. If I put an 8 there, that's 24. If I put a 1 and an 8, that's going to give me 24 and 1. I can't get a 14 out of that. If I put an 8 there and a 1 there and FOIL it, That's going to give me an 8x and a 3x, which is not 14x. So it looks like it's going to be a 4 and a 2. Oh, I think I see it. Put a 4 there. That gives me 12x. Put a 2 there. That gives me 2x. And to get negative 14, they both need to be negative. So I would put a minus there and a minus there. All right, check it. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times negative 4 is negative 12x. Negative 2 times 1x is negative 2x. Combine those and get negative 14x in the middle. And then negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. So I'm going to recopy this. This factored into 3x minus 2. X minus 4 equals 0. And now it's just like the examples 1 and 2 up here. I've already factored it, set each factor equal to 0 and solve. This one is the easier one that we've been doing, where all you do is add 4. This one is the kind of the newer one. To set that equal to 0 and solve takes 2 steps. You're going to add 2 and get positive 2. And you're going to divide by 3. And get the answer positive 2/3 or 0.6 repeating. But like I said, fractions are fine. I hope after seeing 6 examples it kind of helps you. I understand that this is a harder type of factoring that some of you probably didn't perfect a week or so ago. But it's just patience. And what I've always said is you can factor 30 of these math games with a 1n squared faster than you can factor about 3 or 4 of these kind. Probably just take your time and do it. That's why I'm only giving you 6 total questions on your homework. If you have any questions, email me or look back at these 2 videos. Thanks.